Hello, Sooner Nation. Welcome back to the Sooner Surge. Thanks to all of you who have been subscribed to our channel, watching the content here at the Sooner Surge. We'd ask that you check out the Fan Stop at thefanstop.com and check out their apparel section, their Shirt of the Month Club specifically, and get on board with that. It's official, guys. NiJaree Canady is a Red Raider. And while there are a lot of people who would say, yeah, this is exactly what they thought was going to happen, it's really been a quiet portal time period for NiJaree Canady. She was playing for Team USA. People wondered when the decision would be made. Would it be sooner rather than later? Was OU still in on getting and landing NiJaree Canady after the addition of Isabella Smith and Sam Landry? And guys, it's pretty clear right now. The Sooners have their portal class, who they're going with next year. But NiJaree Canady, how much does it surprise you that she's a Red Raider?
I mean, if you'd have told me going into when she entered the portal, if Texas Tech would be the destination, I would have said no way. Because not only the fact that it's Texas Tech, when I think softball, I don't think them as a powerhouse. It's also not the best conference in softball. It's also, when you think about it, it's a team with a new coach. They're under a lot of transition. And so it just, I mean, you've heard the rumors. I don't know exactly on how much the NIL package was for, but I think when NiJaree Canady entered the portal, a lot of people said NIL is going to be the biggest factor. And I just wish athletes would come out and say, I'm going to this school because of NIL, because they offered me the most money. I mean, that's what I would just say. Because I do think Texas Tech, they're going to be a team, guys, that they may make the World Series with her, because I think she's that good of a pitcher. She did it with Stanford with no bats at all. But Texas Tech lost some out of the portal too, because when their coach left, they lost some players. It's going to have to be a year where she puts them on her back again. But she's going to get paid really well doing it. So I do not fault her at all for picking Texas Tech. Make as much money as you can in this sport, because when you leave this sport, you don't have NBA or NFL to go to, or Major League Baseball. So I don't fault her, and I'm excited to watch her play at Texas Tech to see what she can do there. But
yeah, you mentioned that Texas Tech isn't a school, and the kind of the transitions they have at head coach, but Jerry Glasgow was a very talented head coach at Louisiana, went into Norman, defeated Oklahoma their first weekend at Love's Field. Now what he's building at Texas Tech, I think part of that almost kind of makes it make a little bit more sense on just the program side of it. Is it's under transitions right now, but I think with the addition of Jerry Glasgow, what he's able to do so far in the portal, while he did lose some players, but he also brought in some from Louisiana even. And then also the Big 12 lost the two teams that competed for a national championship, left the conference. That conference is pretty wide open right now. I think Oklahoma State's going to be at the top of it, Baylor as well, but I think Texas Tech is that other team at the top of the conference now. And again, according to ESPN, Canady's receiving a 7-figure deal in NIL, which is huge for women's sports. You've already seen it some in women's college basketball, where NIL is becoming more prevalent. I mean, this is the first time that something is reported to that magnitude for college softball.
Hey, real quick, Hunter, you mentioned the number. I don't know if you can verify this, but I just saw something come across my phone from X from On3 that 1.2 million NIL from a certain collective for Texas Tech. So I don't know if you can verify that. That's 1.2 million. It's out there now. So I'm glad it is out there. Hey, I want to say this, though, before we move on to kind of what OU got in the portal. I think fans would be silly not to think that seeing this year is not going to affect a lot of things down the road in women's softball, because you're going to have to, you hear all the time in other sports, you got to re-recruit your current players. Well, OU has a lot of great players, and some of them already won a championship at Oklahoma. You really are going to have to re-recruit, and NIL-wise, you're going to have to pay up. Or these ladies, I wouldn't blame them for going and getting $1 million somewhere else. If a team's going to pay it, it's going to affect the game.
Yeah, but again, real quick, this is the first time that's really happened.
I agree.
Is another school going to throw. I mean, possibly 1.2 million athletic on three, reporting that number at a player. We don't know yet. It's really only happened once, and that happened today. So, but yes, it is something to monitor. I mean, and that's something to be expected in college softball with how much the game has grown over recent years. The College World Series is continuing to get even bigger and bigger every single year. And now NIL starting to make it into college softball, and with no professional league of any sort of, like, even in women's basketball, the WNBA is still a young league that is still trying to grow, and it's starting to because of their rookies. But in college softball, that's really not even close to that. I mean, right now, your best bet for a lot of these players is to go overseas and play, and you could potentially make more money that way. But even then, the players that continue to play, it's for the love of the game. So why not make the most money you can at this point in time?
Well, a couple things. One, there's been a lot of NIL talk on here, and I'm going to be one to say that is not the sole reason NiJaree Canady went to Texas Tech. I don't care that it's seven figures. I get it. But I'm going to say that, and I know what Hunter said earlier, they have the number 2 recruiting class. They're bringing in tons of talent. The coach that's there is one of the maybe best coaches around right now.
Over 700.
Have all that. And Jay, I have friends and family that live in Lubbock, Texas, that have actually go to every game. You ought to see the crowds they're getting at Texas Tech. That was before this. I'm just saying there's a lot of excitement around Texas Tech that a lot of people don't know about. Am I shocked? A little bit in some ways, but she's clearly going to go there and be the clear-cut ace. She was the clear-cut ace anywhere she went, but Texas and Florida had some other ones, and she's going to go there. She's going to basically be able to change the landscape of Texas Tech softball, and it's primed for the pump. If you look at everything that Hunter was talking about and what I just mentioned. Now, here's the question as Sooner fans. What does this mean for OU? Because they're not getting Canady. She was clearly going to be the ace. But I would say hold your horses, because OU's got a really, really good pitching staff.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, we talked about it a few weeks ago when they got Isabella Smith and Sam Landry. I think we all thought that was because they weren't going to get Canady. And that's why they went out and got those 2 pitchers, and they got them, and they're really good, talented, experienced pitchers. That's what they really needed, I think, was experience maybe. And their experience, plus they've pitched a lot of innings and they've won a lot of games. You don't just win games. And if you go look at Sam Landry and Isabella Smith, I know they play in smaller schools, but the games they played against really good competition, they pitched well. So it transitioned over. So you can't say they didn't play well against the big teams. So they did. So I look at OU. OU's going to have another solid team that could. If somebody asks me right now, are they going to win their 5th straight? I don't know that. Can they? They definitely can. I think they definitely can win the 5th straight. It's not going to be easy. I think they can do it. There's going to be some tough teams out there. You don't have a Jordy Ball or a Kelly Maxwell or a NiJaree Canady that we know of yet. Now, we'll see. Maybe one of these pitchers can be that. Maybe it's somebody already on staff like Kirsten Deal. So we'll see. But I think they can do it. They got a good squad. They got a lot better out of the portal. I'll say that, a lot better. If you go by position and what they needed 2 pitchers. They got it. They needed the outfielder. They got all they needed. The catcher. So I think they're looking good for next year. Yeah,
that summed it up perfectly there, Jay. Like Oklahoma, when you're losing 10 seniors, 5 of which are the core of that 4 straight national championship run. I mean, the pitching staff only had 3. 2 of them, Kirsten Deal with the most innings, but even then, she didn't pitch a whole lot. Splitting time with Kelly Maxwell, Nicole May, and even Carly Keeney last year. Peyton Monticelli made the appearance against Texas, but before that, it was a long time since she previously pitched. And then Audrey Lowry, an incoming freshman, one of the top pitchers in the country. But again, Oklahoma needed experience there, and they got it in 2 of the most talented pitchers in the portal. It's not NiJaree Canady, but they're 2 pitchers that were top 10 in wins last year. Sam Landry, I think over 24 wins a year ago, both really good ERAs at smaller schools going to the bigger stage with Oklahoma as they transition into the SEC, but also just across the board. I mean, Abby Dayton in center field, Ilana Agbayani in middle infield, and then Isabella Emmerling at catcher. Oklahoma filled the holes that they have to replace this just the best senior class in the history of college softball. They have to be replaced some way, and Oklahoma did it really well through the transfer portal on top of the #1 recruiting class incoming for next season.
I thought Jay was getting ready to say something.
I was going to say something, but it's back on Canady for a minute. And I know you mentioned Texas Tech, and I agree with everything you said about Texas Tech and what they have coming in and their coach. But I think the number that's being thrown out there for NiJaree Canady is so much more than anything that's been put out there in women's softball. It's not even close. I mean, you're talking 1.2 million compared to what? Maybe 100,000. I mean, it's. Would she have gone to Texas Tech for 600,000? I don't know if she would have. So I do think I see what you're saying about Texas Tech, but the money is so huge. I mean, $1.2 million. I mean, it's going to change the game. Hunter, I know you said, well, this is one instance, but it never happens that way. Go look at any sport. When the highest paid receiver gets a certain amount, they all start getting it. It's going to change the game a little bit, I think.
I think it's a little bit different.
It is different.
NFL terms, because you're looking at collectives compared
I
to
agree.
like the ownership format in the NFL and how the contracts work. I mean, there's not technically contracts in that magnitude right now. It's supposed to be name, image, and likeness as of July 24th, 2020, or 2024, sorry. Those things can change, and they're going to continue to change. But again, all I was getting at there is who is going to be that team to step up and do what Texas Tech was able to do. I don't know yet. It probably will happen, but will it happen at a rapid rate right now? I still don't think so. I still think this is going to be a thing that kind of slowly increases over the next 3, 4, 5 seasons.
It might depend on how well Canady does at Texas.
That's exactly right. If they don't win a natty, or if it doesn't pan out, people are thinking, man, it's a lot of money for one player when others may not be getting this much. But the Sooners have their portal class. NiJaree Canady is officially a Texas Tech Red Raider, and softball season is a ways away, but all the pieces now are where they are, and the Sooners do stay away from Canady as she doesn't land at Florida or Texas. That's something to note as well. First time they would see her would likely be the maybe a regional, super regional, or Women's College World Series. So it's exciting times in women's softball. Thanks for catching the content here at the Sooner Surge. Appreciate you watching. Till next time.